It's on Dubai Eye 103.8. It is your very last chance to tell me, when it comes to children's shoes, what do you call the lace-free fastening that is most often used? Is it a zip or is it Velcro? That little word could win you 500 dirhams to spend with Echo on their back-to-school shoe collection. So premium leather, there's sneakers, there's ballet flats, there's all sorts. Get them through that gate all comfy and confident. And you saving some money on those essentials. So 500 dirham voucher to spend with Echo if you tell me that. The lace-free fastening that's often found on children's shoes is the popular one zips or Velcro. That answer and your name, that's what I need on 4001, or you could use the ARN Play app if that's easy for you. The WhatsApp always there for you, of course, 04871 5500.
This is Eye on Education on Afternoons with Helen Farmer.
Sponsored by Repton School Dubai. Outstanding British education for ages 3 to 18, where students go into the world not just ready, but Repton ready.
It's a big day. After months of hard work and hopefully some late night study sessions, endless practice papers, I'm sure. It is, of course, GCSE results day, a big milestone for students across the UAE and beyond. For many it is, as we've been hearing some lovely messages on the text line, a time of celebration. But for others it can bring some unexpected challenges, some big questions about what comes next. So we're talking about what does come next. Career pathways, sixth form choices as well. Can feel a bit overwhelming. So to help us navigate this crucial transition, in the studio, Janice Williams, who's the head of sixth form and careers university guidance counsellor at Repton Al Barsha. You've got a smile on your face as well. How are you today?
I've had a wonderful day, thank you. And it's been a mixture, obviously, of disappointment and real successes. But it's been a wonderful day, thank you.
It takes you back, doesn't it? I remember opening...
Well, a long time for me.
27 years since I got my GCSE results, and I remember opening... There was like peer pressure to kind of open it in front of your friends. And then for A-levels, I opened that envelope, sat in the car, had a little cry over the D in French, but soon bounced back. How did Repton Al Barsha's GCSE students perform this year? And I guess to you, what stood out about their achievements, Janice?
OK, but the figures that were measured against, as the sort of benchmark are obviously the numbers of 7 to 9s you get, the number of passes you get, etc., which possibly is the least important, I think. We got 55% 7 to 9, which measures up very well with, and obviously 7 to 9 are the top grades. They're A's and A stars. And of those, 38% were 8s to 9s as well. But we had some, I would say, much more significant figures than that. And for our students, we got what we call a value added. And value added is where you compare what they are predicted to get against what they actually get. And ours was +2, which was amazing.
Wow.
I mean, that is possibly what we're the most proud of. And certain faculties, and I think surprisingly maths, because people tend to think of maths as the subject that students don't do particularly well on, an amazing set of results. So I'm sure the maths faculty today are feeling incredibly proud of the students.
Well, congratulations to one and all. And as you said, there are often some disappointments and, maybe it's someone getting complacent about what they predicted and taking a foot off the gas when it comes to revision, or maybe there are circumstances that no one's predicted. There can be all manner of reasons and explanations behind that. But I asked the same question to Mr. Rattray, who was just in earlier. But when those numbers aren't what you'd hoped, what can and should parents say or indeed not say to best support their child?
I think it's difficult because everyone has very different relationships with their children. And I'm speaking to you now as a head of sixth form, but I am a mum as well. And it's quite a long time ago that my children got their results. I remember, it was A-levels actually. I remember my son being deeply upset on the day he got his A-levels. It wasn't a big surprise to me. It wasn't a big surprise to his teachers, but it did seem to be a big surprise to him. And obviously at that particular time, it was the most devastating thing that had happened to him. And now at 36, he looks back and I'm sure he probably doesn't even remember those moments. I remember them very well, but I'm sure he doesn't remember them. So I think we have to remember that what happens today doesn't define you. It's just a step in your journey, and it is a journey, and they're just starting out. And it's potentially for some of our students maybe the first time they've had a real disappointment to deal with.
Yeah. And how then do you help students identify the next steps if their initial plans maybe don't align with their results?
Well, the first thing to do is not to panic. And there is something for everybody, and especially in Dubai, of course, there really is something for everybody. But if you perhaps don't get one of the grades that you need to study your A-level, the A-level that you wanted, there are plenty of different options. And so we basically just talk to them, calm them down, talk through different options. And some students have very misaligned ideas of what's needed for the future. First of all, at 15 or 16, I think it's very difficult to know what you want to do in the future. I most certainly didn't. I found out when I was 38, and that's when I became a teacher. So I think to know at 15 or 16 is probably very difficult. And I think if we ask most people, most parents, look back to what you did for GCSEs or AP or IB, whatever it was you did, and are you doing now what you thought you were going to do? And the answer would probably be no. Majority no. So I think parents as well, this is a huge day for them. I think they have to also think back to their days and think about how important really were the GCSEs, potentially not as important as they felt on the day.
What trends are you noticing when it comes to that next step? You know, that kind of 16 to 18, those options, whether it is different types of a form of study or indeed even subjects. What have you seen change?
It's actually interesting for me because I actually haven't been in the education business quite as long as my age would dictate. No, seriously. I mean, you could think I'd been in the education business for 30 years and I haven't. But even in the time that I've been in education and having moved geographically to different places, so my previous home was Central Asia, Kazakhstan, being here, there are very, very different trends that we see. So we have a lot more students now who know that they're going to do something entrepreneurial. They're going to do a startup. So maybe looking more towards business, whereas maybe it would be. So we're seeing a lot of maths, business, computer science, a lot of AI involvement. But again, culturally in different areas of the world, that's different. Certainly in university, post-18, there's definitely a change to the trends. So obviously with the geopolitical situation in the US, less and less students, it would seem from our perspective, are wanting to go to the US just because of fears they won't get visas. And also, we've seen a move away from the UK, and that's been very good news for the UAE because they've had a 90% increase in international inquiries this year. Wow. A 90% increase is incredible. And then areas that were less touched before, like Australasia, they're seeing a big increase as well. So the winners, I think, at the moment are Europe, UAE, and Australia.
It's really interesting because that very much aligns with conversations I've had in this studio with students who have gone, do you know what, I'm going to go to a technical university in the Netherlands.
Indeed.
I'm going to go to Helsinki. I want to study in Barcelona. And actually, in terms of affordability, making a lot of sense. But also, I think it speaks volumes about the quality of education people are getting here in the UAE. You know, people choosing to stay here. I had quite an emotional conversation, as you often do on a plane at altitude, the other day with a lady who was saying she hadn't quite appreciated, her teenagers growing up here in the UAE and deciding to go to university in the UK, and it wasn't just leaving the family home. And much like I did, I went to university an hour and a half on the train ride away, but a complete country move. And one thing I thought that she said that was really, really interesting is that she'd, grown up in the UAE, or her daughter in particular, and had friends from all over the world, and had loved that and really, really celebrated that, and went to the UK and she's like, everybody's English.
Everybody's English. And I think as well, a lot of parents are talking to us. Now, obviously, I haven't lived in the UK for 15 plus years now. But we're hearing from a lot of people we're worried about safety, especially of parents of the girls. And honestly don't know where that's coming from. And that seems to be more of a concern for the UK than the US, which, again, as a counsellor, that's surprising.
It is. It's a really interesting time.
The thought of getting, a great British education or a great American education, and you can get it right here on your doorstep. And I have done a tour of many of the universities over the summer, and the facilities are extraordinary.
I just want to say a huge thanks to you for coming in today on what I know is a very, very busy day.
Crazy.
I hope you've got a nice, relaxing evening planned. Congratulations to all the students there at Repton Al Barsha, and of course all the team that have been there, whether that is teaching or advising and supporting, because my goodness, it takes a village. And I'd love to catch up with you again to talk a little bit about the next steps and really opening our minds as parents to some of the alternative pathways, because
there are many.
And it's getting more and more exciting all the time. Janice Williams, thank you so much for your
Helen.
time.
Thank you.
We are going to be picking a winner next for those wonderful school shoes, but also if you've been getting in touch with the word road trip, I could be calling you and you could be joining us on one.
Weather check with Air Arabia.
Enjoy 3 daily flights to Bangkok from Sharjah.